Welcome back, everybody, to BetIt for the true sports fan. I am Jay Cole. I have my co-host Slush here. We got another banger for you guys here. I know we came back last week with 3 trades that will absolutely break the NBA. Slush, what have we got this week?
This week we got Caitlin versus Angel. You know, one of the biggest talks in sports right now has been for a while. It was a beef that originally started in college, and then it's progressed and still leading over now to the WNBA.
I agree, Slush, and it's a really fiery topic because not only has it divided sports fans, it's divided a lot of the country as far as race goes, and I think that's really it's transcended the sport. And I also think it's been good for the sport because it's gotten so many more eyes on it. And I think when they did spark that little beef in the national championship game, that was the most watched national championship game, and then the following year the most watched semifinal game. Like they've had a lot of games where people are tuning in because this quote unquote beef is happening. And that's why we titled the video Classic Rivalry or One-Sided Beef, because to me, Slush, it has the makings of a classic rivalry, but how can you have a rivalry when there's one player that's just so far superior to the other? And so that's why I think it is such a one-sided beef, and we'll get into that further down the line, but I think Angel Reese is a player that really drums up the media, and she knows how to play into those, where the media falters is they love those one-liners, they love clipping, they love the clickbait, and I think Angel Reese is literally an angel for them because she provides so many one-liners when she's upset or when she feels some type of way. And Slush, I think we take it back all the way to the beginning with their first ever incident. Tell me about this, Slush. What did you think about this? I mean, kind of a weird little thing here. It was obviously Louisiana State versus Iowa. Tell me about this, Slush.
Yeah. So I mean, this was the time when college hoops for women really got popular.
Yep.
I mean, I think everybody was tuned into this game. This is probably the most watched game in women's history for college, and we all knew LSU was the better team. I think they're the 1 seed or the 2 seed. So LSU, they just had a very balanced team, more talent. But Iowa, they did have Caitlin Clark. I'm pretty sure they were underdog in this game. But, a lot of people thought Clark was going to be able to pull it off. But, Angel was able to – her and LSU were able to compete, grind it out. And I think they ended up winning by 10. And then, this is the big moment. She did one of these. She hit Caitlin with her own gesture, and then point to the ring. So yeah, this stirred up a lot of controversy. So I mean, I like it. When you're winning, you could do this stuff. So
yeah,
what's your take on it?
This is where it all started. Obviously, one of the most classic rivalries in college sports. It hasn't kicked off in the WNBA yet because the Sky are not the team that the Fever are. So there hasn't been that real sense of rivalry yet. But I think for Caitlin Clark, this is where we got our first glimpse into how transcendent she can be for women's basketball. And I think the first time we ever saw somebody like that was with Sabrina Ionescu when we first saw women really shooting threes and her participating in the three-point contest against Steph. And I think Caitlin Clark is somebody that takes that to the next level. And I think for me, this beef is one that is just so one-sided, Slush, because I think everything Caitlin has said about Angel is, I don't think she should get as much flack as she does from the media. I don't think she should get as much criticism. She's an incredible player. And all I hear from Angel is, this isn't just one person as to why we're watching college basketball or women's basketball. This is about me too. And it's almost like she's trying to butt her way into the conversation. And she's such like, I like to say industry plant, Slush, because it's almost like the media has placed her there to drum up headlines with such an unproblematic star like Caitlin Clark. And that brings me to my next point is, Slush, I think Caitlin Clark gets so much flack not only from the media, but more so from her peers. And I think the main reason why I wanted to make this video with you, and I think it was important for our, growing channel, is we want to bring sports fans into the know. Our slogan is for the real sports fan, and we want to have that garage style take where we can talk about things on the internet and share our takes. I mean, if people want to agree with us, great, but we want to have conversation with our, with our fans and the people that are watching us. But Slush, I think she takes so much flack because there's so much jealousy. And it's a weird thing. When you have male sports, it's kind of like you can be different about it. But with female sports, the jealousy is so clear that I see with these women with Caitlin Clark. And the thing is that I can say in particular, why would you hate when she's bringing not only so much more attention, but so much more revenue? The thing is, I see all the WNBA All-Stars, they were wearing shirts that say, pay us what you owe us. And while I think that's totally fair, the argument that I always like to make is you get paid what you generate. And I think Caitlin Clark is so beneficial to what they're generating because she brings so many eyes to the sport. At least in my opinion, I consider myself a WNBA more so on the casual side, but I know some players, you know what I mean? I look at the All-Star roster and I can recognize a majority of those names. But the thing is, the only time I'm tuning into a women's basketball game is if the Fever are playing or if the Olympics are on and Caitlin Clark happens to be partaking in it. That's not to take away from women's basketball. I think there are a ton of developing stars. I think it's a league that's ever growing. I think it's going to turn into something that's more and more popular. But I think the driving force behind that is Caitlin Clark. And I think not only the media, but her peers need to realize that she's such a beneficial thing for the game rather than knocking her down like, oh, she's got a lot to go in the league. I know I saw multiple people saying that. Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, people like that, aging veterans. It's always kind of like that when you get a new star into the game and she's very transcendent and very like indicative of the new era. Slush, I'll let you break this down a little bit, but I think Caitlin Clark is so good for the game. And before we even get back to the beef, I just wanted to highlight, her kind of impact on sports in general, not just women's sports, but she's kind of transcended the WNBA and turned into an all-sport icon for me.
Yeah, no, definitely. I really like your take on that. I think that it all started with how Caitlin Clark, she's gotten so much attention since the start of it. So I don't think that like women's college sports was used to getting someone with that much attention. I mean, she was playing at a football stadium, and like her first year. So I mean, the attention is just it's just crazy, and everybody she always gets everybody's A game because they always want to be the the team or the person that has a really good game against Caitlin Clark. And moving on to your point about Angel Reese, I like how you said how she's kind of like an industry plant, because I do think that the media and the media needs that second star in the WNBA, because they have Caitlin, and then I think that they're searching for it, and it was a great opportunity. I think when since they both got drafted in the same year, I think that it was a huge opportunity for Angel Reese to step up and be that person, but I just don't know if she's been able to, fill that role. So, I mean, she's still young, but the WNBA definitely needs a second star to pair along with Clark to keep the beef going, because I think that the viewership there's not really a consistent viewership. I think that when there's a lot of attention, there's a lot of viewers, and then it'll die off, and then another narrative comes up, and then it gets a lot more attention. But I don't think there's that. They're trying to grow their consistent fan base. So that's my take.
I agree, Slush, 100%. And the thing is, I think you make an incredible point as to the media needs that second star, because it feels so forced. And that's why we wanted to make this video, because I think a lot of fans are under the impression that this is such an iconic rivalry so far, two young stars. It's such a forced rivalry and a forced beef, Slush. And I think it's not only forced by the media, but I think it's also forced by the league, and it's also forced by Angel Reese and her team, because there's not much there. It's like trying to kindle a fire with one piece of wood. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, she keeps making comments to kind of try and drum it up, but she's not all the way there. And then we saw the incident recently, which we're going to break down as well, where there was a technical foul and she kind of got shoved to the ground. And Robert Griffin III wanted to say, these are just two women that hate each other. And it's like, from Caitlin's side, there's been nothing but respect towards Angel Reese. She's such an unproblematic star. The league is craving for Caitlin Clark to make a statement negatively towards Angel Reese, and she just won't give it to him. And I think that's really what they're trying to pit those two against. And I think Angel Reese is buying into that, because that's her brand now. That's how she's kind of, I'm not going to say she's riding on the coattails of Caitlin Clark, because in her own right, she's not a bad player at all. She's the most prolific rebounder in the WNBA, whether that be off of her own misses or not. She is an all-star, and she is going to be an Olympian in the next cycle of the Olympic Games. There's no doubt about that. But I just think her media strategy and what she drums up with her team is, what can we do to get our name back in the headlines? What's the easiest way to get your name into the headlines? Call out the biggest star. It's like in the UFC, Slush. How do you get your name into the headlines? You call out the champ. You call out Conor McGregor. You call out somebody of note so that there's going to be headlines about you. I just think it's too forced. I just think every good rivalry has some sauce there to begin with, and I think there was that with the little national championship gesture, as you can see behind me. But there's not any other ingredients. Like if you look at the classic rivalries of time, I go back to MMA all the time because that's my bread and butter. You see the Khabib versus McGregor. You see the Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz. There's a personal element behind it, and there's a beef that can be settled right away in front of everybody, and there's a build-up to it. And it's from both sides. Both guys are competitors, and they dislike each other strongly. With Caitlin Clark, it just feels like, Angel's a great competitor.
Waste of her time. Waste of her time.
I love competing against her. She brings out the best in me. And with Angel, it's always like, I'm here too, guys. You know what I mean? Like, I can be a star as well. Like, it's not just Caitlin. Like, they come here to watch me. And it's like, Angel, they're there to watch you guys play because you're on the court as well, and Caitlin happens to be playing. They're there to watch Sophie Cunningham and all the other people on the Fever too when they go to play in theory. But in reality, they're there to watch Caitlin. If you go and watch the stands, you look at all the little girls and boys and people wearing jerseys, I guarantee you 90% of them are 22 Clark on the back. So, Slush, the main highlight I want to make in this video is I love organic beefs. I think everybody loves that beef where there's just some sauce to it. You know what I mean? The Manny Pacquiao's versus Floyd Mayweather. They're just some iconic rivalries. And it doesn't even have to be personal. I just love when there's good ball being played, and Angel Reese just makes it so easy to dislike her. And I think it doesn't have to be that way. I think she can develop into her own independent star. I think she has elements about her game and about her personality that are likable, but she continues to use the strategy of let's be negative towards Caitlin Clark and see what publicity we can, because I think her strategy is any publicity is good publicity, excuse me. Any publicity is good publicity, so let's just keep what works. Let's just keep hating on Caitlin and try to fuel that beef. And Slush, that's just not for me as a fan. I know you talked about it. Just not for me. I think Caitlin's the future of the WNBA. I think Angel can get there, but I think for now, this is a totally one-sided beef.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I like how you said how it's kind of like it's like MMA, like you're calling out the champ, like. I mean, that's what I don't want it to turn out to be because, I mean, I don't think it's fair to both of them on this, beef, but especially Caitlin because, when this beef first started, they were, comparing it, is this a bird magic rivalry, like, already? But, like, come on, like, if we're being real, this is, like, maybe a bird, like, Drummond, like, bird of Andre Drummond rivalry. Like, I mean, I don't think it's fair to any of them, but, Caitlin, she's handled it well. I mean, I think she's getting a lot of it's a lot of media questions. Like they'll ask her about it, and I just don't think she really cares. Like she just wants to play and grow the game of basketball for women's. And I just think it's a big distraction.
I agree, and I'll end it off on this, Slush. I think the purpose of this video was to determine if the beef is real or if it's a classic rivalry, if it's a one-sided beef. For me right now, it's a totally one-sided beef with the media machine and Angel Reese's team fueling it and nothing else.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, it can 100% become a classic rivalry by both of them becoming their own independent stars. If you have one star going this way, one star going this way, eventually they're going to meet at the top. I think Angel Reese is right here right now. Caitlin's more so up here. But Angel is dragging herself down by not making herself her own independent figure. Whenever you think about Angel Reese, you think about Caitlin Clark. Whenever you think about the WNBA, you think about Caitlin Clark. So all Angel Reese needs to do is win independently and keep Caitlin Clark's name out of her mouth, Slush. This will become a rivalry organically by them not talking about each other, because it would be one thing if Caitlin was saying, man, I hate Angel, like I really dislike her strongly as a person and as a player, but that's just not what's happening. So how can you have a beef if it's one-sided? I think if the two stars grow themselves independently, they can meet at the pinnacle of the sport, and then it becomes a rivalry. Almost like a Steph Curry and a LeBron James. That's a classic rivalry because it was two of the game's all-time greats meeting independently without talking about each other. There's been nothing but respect between those two guys, and they met at the pinnacle, and it's an all-time classic rivalry. But for right now, Slush, Angel Reese and her team continue to fuel the beef that is not even there. And until then, Angel Reese will always be associated with Caitlin Clark in a negative way, and she'll never become her own star. And I think that's the main problem as to why there's no rivalry. I'll end it off on that. Slush, you got any more points you want to add? Do you think this is a one-sided rivalry, or do you think this could become a classic rivalry?
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. I love that. I love that point you made. It's definitely a one-sided rivalry, and I think that just you can tell when the beef is natural or when it's forced, and this is definitely one of those forced issues. So, I mean, I think it'd be a much better story if they each went their own ways. The NBA found a new narrative, and then later in the future, they maybe compete in a a playoff game or semifinal game, and I think that would just be a much better story, like where we could look back on it instead of just having it run on and run on. I mean, it's just I don't think it's good for the sport. Like the sport isn't about just rivalries. It's about growing the women's game. I mean, there's going to be new expansion teams by the year, so I mean, I just don't like the way it's heading, and I think there needs to be a change. They need to let it go.
I agree, Slush. And the thing is, I'll say about Angel, she does get a lot of flack, especially from, the NBA community and the sports community as a whole, especially from the male side. I don't think she's a horrible player. Do I think she's a game-transcending player that kind of like it, Caitlin Clark? Absolutely not. But I think she's a very solid, bona fide all-star in the WNBA. She has her assets, you know what I mean? I think at some point they're going to team up, like I said, in the Olympics. They're going to team up on some all-star teams. I think that's a good narrative as well. But they're trying to drum up too much drama, Slush. And I think what we've concluded in this kind of investigative video is it's a totally one-sided beef that can be 100% resolved. But hey, it's been fun talking to you about it, Slush. I think we're going to have another banger for you guys out this week. And the one thing we wanted to talk about to you guys about is, I know I said earlier in the video, we want people to, start conversation with us. And that's something that we're going to start soon. We're going to have our own call-in show so that you guys can debate us on our topics. We're going to be talking LeBron versus MJ. We're going to be talking tennis. We're going to be talking MMA, football, baseball, everything under the sun as far as sports go. And we're super excited about that. Drop a comment if you guys want to see something else. We're going to have the NFL's secret weapon, Marvin Harrison, out next. And we're also going to have the NBA versus gambling out this week as well. Slush, it's been a pleasure. We are betting. We're out.
Bet it out.